recall Albert to the capital to protect himself from Ruddy. Darius tries to negotiate with Eris and Gisling by claiming that he has been helping the Boreas house rebuild the Fatoa territory. However, he also reveals that he directly led to the death of Soros. Eris and Gisling therefore resolve themselves to kill him. Seeing that negotiations have failed, Albert launches an attack. Albert is able to badly damage Ruddy's leg. He almost cut it clean off, and he stabs Eris in the abdomen with a poisoned kunai, but he also receives an arm injury from Gisling. Ruddy then launches an exploding stone cannon at Darius. Although Albert blocks the rock bullet, its fragments blind Darius and distracts Albert. With that opening, Eris damages Albert's other arm and Gisling lands a killing blow. The battle is over, and Gisling then kills Darius. Ruddy heals all their injuries, and they cure Eris' poisoning with the antidote Orsted told Ruddy Albert kept on him to treat that poison he carries as well. So they head back to the party venue and are greeted with an unexpected sight. They see Luke holding a dagger against Ariel's neck. So a few minutes prior, after Orsted had killed Rita and left, Luke convinced himself that Orsted is evil. Philemon then bows to Ariel and claims he only pretended to betray her. Ariel is angry at this bold-faced lie as she knows Philemon sent assassins to kill her. She tells him to have some pride and at least admit his betrayal. Ariel sentences Philemon to be executed right there and asks for Luke's sword. Luke experiences mixed feelings about his father. On one hand, Philemon had protected Ariel all those years until his betrayal, and although he was never close with his father, he didn't hold any bad feelings toward him either. Without thinking clearly, Luke holds his sword to Ariel's neck. Luke also continues to be extremely suspicious of Orsted. He voices his concern at Ruddy being Orsted's subordinate and asks Filthy if she trusts Orsted. Sylphie confirms she doesn't trust Orsted, but she trusts Ruddy. Then Ruddy enters the venue and while still holding his sword to Ariel's throat, he asks Sylphie who she would choose to save, Ariel or Ruddy. Sylphie chooses Ruddy without hesitation and Luke then regains his senses and releases Ariel. He continues to distrust Orsted, but he decides to support Ariel regardless. He braces himself for execution for his betrayal, but Ariel forgives him. Ariel decides not to execute Philemon as he was just a pawn in Darius's game, and with Eris's encouragement, Gisline reluctantly agrees with this decision. Meanwhile, Perugilus watched this entire exchange in amusement. Grable remains seated in his chair and he was shocked and exhausted as his strongest backer was now dead. Later, Philemon is stripped of his position and placed under house arrest while Luke becomes the Notos Graeret family's head. So on day one after Ariel's party, Ruddy has a meeting with Orsted. Ruddy is worried that Ariel's ascension to king is still not guaranteed as he is concerned about other traps set by Hidegami, but Orsted is not worried. Orsted reveals that he wasn't being truthful to Ruddy when he said he could see the future, because up until this point, he never fully trusted Ruddy and was monitoring him during these events to see if he would betray Orsted. He explains that whenever time progresses for 200 years, he has the ability to reset himself to the year 330 with his memories intact. Basically, it's a time loop in which Orsted is stuck, but Hidegami in contrast doesn't retain his memories with each loop, and so he isn't aware of Orsted's reset ability. Orsted reveals that he has reset well over 100 times. Therefore, Orsted reassures Ruddy that based on all the previous timelines that he has seen, Ariel is guaranteed to become king at this point. On day 3, Isolde visits Aris and Ruddy in their home, which was gifted to them by Ariel. Isolde makes clear that she holds no grudge against Ariel or her faction for her master's death. Isolde also makes it clear that she came to visit only to see Aris. Aris and Isolde then spend some time together exploring the Imperial City, with Ruddy as joining them as well, to make sure Isolde didn't try to attack Aris. On day 5, Ruddy and Sylphie have dinner at the Boreas house. Aris was not invited, as the Boreas are still wary of her and are not interested in welcoming her back. On day 8, Tristina returns to the aristocracy. Ariel plans to use Tristina to broker deals with her group of thieves. Perugilus returns to Sky Castle, where he can revive his 2 familiars who were killed. On day 9, Sylphie and Ruddy meet Ariel. Ariel thanks Ruddy for all his help and admits that without his advice and help, she never would have gotten this far. Ariel asks if Ruddy wants anything in return. Ruddy asks for a license to sell his Super Red Race figurines and books, as well as workshops to help with mass producing. Ariel agrees to this request, and she likewise thanks Sylvie for guarding her for the past several years. So, with their work done, Ruddy prepares to leave Asura Kingdom. So, Ghislaine holds a sword training session with Ruddy and Aris, just like the old days. They finish their training session with Ghislaine and Aris sparring. Ghislaine then says her goodbyes to Aris. Once Ghislaine leaves, Aris cries. Then before their departure, several nobles from Ariel's faction, who knew Sylvie, came to see her off. Luke says goodbye to Sylvie and Ruddy as well. They forgive each other for distrusting the other, and they say goodbye on good terms. For the return trip, they will go to Sky Castle with Peruginus, and then teleport to the ruins near the outskirts of Sharia City. Therefore, the return trip to Sharia will be much faster than the initial trip there. By the time they enter Peruginus Castle, the sun had set, and so they spend the night there. Ruddy speaks with Sylvie, and Sylvie expresses that she would like to spend more time raising their daughter Lucy, now that she no longer has the role of Ariel's guard. Sylvie states that she initially wanted to be like Aris, who is comparable to Ruddy in terms of combat ability. However, she realizes this would be impossible for her at this point, and so she sets her new goal of focusing on raising her family. Ruddy, Aris, and Sylvie return to Magic Sharia after being gone for 2 months. Ruddy is relieved to see that nothing has changed since he left and his family is still safe. Aisha and Lilia welcome them home. Roxy's pregnancy continues to progress well, but she is ashamed of how her body has changed. She reveals to Ruddy that she is particularly sensitive about the fact that her bell button is now protruding outwards, as she recounts how Ruddy previously told her how her belly and navel were perfect. Ruddy reassures her that she still likes her new navel, so Ruddy hugs her growing belly, and Roxy welcomes him home. The next day, Ruddy greets all his friends, Sanoba, Cliff, and Elinalise. He greeted Nanohoshi as well while back at Sky Fortress. He then visits his father's grave. There, Ruddy speaks out loud all the events of the past 2 months. Ruddy then reflects on the fact that he was very lucky this time to return with no casualties on his side. This journey had several lucky occurrences, such as Orsted appearing to kill the water god, and Albert carrying his venoms antidote on him, which saved Aris' life. He resolves himself to continue to get stronger so that he can continue to protect his family without being reliant on his luck. It has been 1.5 years, and Ruddy trains with Orsted and improves his magic. He gets Scent, Class and Fire, Wind, Healing and Detoxification magic, as well as intermediate class God Barrier magic. Ruddy has performed various jobs assigned by Orsted to help various people, and those they help now will become useful to Orsted in the future. Ruddy has also renovated the hut that they use as their base and main office. The building has a conference room, sleeping room and research room. It also has an armory, which also contains the magic armor, which has been successfully miniaturized. The basement has magic teleport circles which allow them to quickly travel to other major places around the world. Ruddy's eldest daughter Lucy is now 3 years old. As Ruddy is often away carrying out missions for Orsted, she often doesn't recognize him. Ruddy has also brought Lucy to meet Orsted, and they get along very well, confirming that Orsted's curse doesn't affect Ruddy's descendants. Roxy also gave birth. Although the delivery was complicated by shoulder dystocia, Roxy was able to give birth to a healthy girl whom they named Laura. Laura has blue hair like Roxy, and some family members worry that she may be bullied because of this. Elinalise also gave birth, but without complications, to a healthy baby boy that they named Clive. Aris also wanted to have children, but was initially having difficulty conceiving. However, after taking a break from her training, she was able to conceive. The main cause of her infertility was likely due to her intense daily training. So Asura Kingdom's king, Ariel's father, has passed away from his illness, and Ariel will become queen soon. After Aris got pregnant, a letter was sent to Ghislaine informing her of this news, and after Aris' child is born, they plan to visit the Asura Kingdom to visit Ghislaine. Zenith still hasn't recovered her memory, and her emotions have stopped improving, and she still doesn't speak, and even Orsted does not have any clues regarding a cure for Zenith. Nevertheless, Ruddy does not plan on giving up on restoring her memory. Sometime later, Ruddy returns home from his mission. Aisha and Sylvie welcome him home. His toddler-aged daughter continues to be wary of Ruddy. Much to his disappointment, he finds out that Aris has recently saved Nina de Doldia from slave traders. Nina recounts her story of how she tried to become a merchant after graduating from school. She soon fell into debt after getting scammed and was sold into slavery. The slave traders then arrive at Ruddy's home. They recognize that Ruddy is a powerful person both in compatibility and in connections, and so they try to convince him to return Lena to them. They explain that the Boreas house has already bought Lena for 300 Asura gold coins. Ruddy considers giving up Lena to the slave traders, but decides against it. He purchases Lena from the slave traders with 3 bags of magic stones, which are worth 1,500 Asura gold coins in total. Ruddy confirms that the slavers don't also have persona in their possessions. Ruddy intimidates the slavers and gets the slaver to promise to also give him persona if she ever becomes their slave. Trembling in fear, the slave agrees and leaves. In return for saving her from slavery, it is decided that Lena will work as a maid in their house. Lena also recognizes the sacred beast Leo and is able to communicate with him. Later, Ruddy meets with Cliff, and together they go to meet Orsted in the city outskirts. They are there to test Cliff's latest iteration of his curse suppression tool. Cliff has made some progress over the past year in suppressing Orsted's curse. Eris and Sylphie's attitude has softened toward Orsted from enemy of all living beings to evil boss, and it's all thanks to Cliff's suppression artifacts. Through his research, Cliff has also come to realize that Ruddy lied about the fact that breaking the curse was related to Ruddy trying to kill Orsted, and that Ruddy was actually initially telling the truth about the fact that Orsted's curse caused living beings to fear and hate him. So with their testing done, Ruddy and Cliff return to the university. Rudeus then goes to visit Zenova. He sees Zenova and Julie panicking over the fact that blood is flowing from her vagina. Rudeus reassures them that there is no wound to heal, and this was likely menstruation, and so he asks Ginger for help. So Cliff, Zenova, and Ruddy have lunch together, and they discuss the progress on the magic armor. Over the past 1.5 years, there have been several iterations to the magic armor. It has been miniaturized and requires much less magic to power it. It currently performs at the level of a Saint-class swordsman. They have also changed their Gatling gun to a shotgun, because firing off several bullets at once is helpful as a counter against water god-style swordsmen. On the other hand, Zenova only made little progress on his autonomous doll research, as he has devoted his time to the magic armor instead. However, Zenova doesn't mind this. They then discuss mass-producing their super doll and picture book. The limiting factor currently is that they don't have a shop where they can sell their product. Ruddy thinks about Linear, but then Ruddy immediately overlooks having Linear run their shop. They consider hiring another slave to run their business. Ruddy then goes home and is accompanied by Roxy and Norn. Roxy and Norn are getting along well. When they arrive home, Lucy greets Norn, but continues to hide herself from Ruddy. Norn also finds out that Linear is now their new maid. Norn and Sylphie wonder if Linear will join Ruddy's collection of wives. Aisha greets everyone and introduces Linear, who is donned to maid outfits similar to Aisha's. A few days later, Orsted arrives and gives Ruddy his next mission, and he needs to depart in 3 days. Ruddy goes home and sees Linear looking dejected. By the front entrance, he enters his home and is greeted by Lucy, and it was a pleasant surprise for Ruddy. He finds out that Ares has gone to the school to teach swordsmanship to Norn. Ruddy goes to the backyard to find Aisha. Aisha is upset about the fact that Linnea broke her favorite teacup. More than that, Aisha is upset at how Linnea is doing a poor job as a maid, such as breaking dishes and getting her fur in the laundry, and the fact that she doesn't learn from her mistakes. Aisha is also upset at Linnea's constant lighthearted tone, and how she never sincerely apologizes for her mistakes. Aisha asks Ruddy to kick Linnea out and perhaps sell her to the Boreas house. As Linnea is his friend, Ruddy asks Aisha to forgive Linnea, which Aisha agrees to do for now. At bedtime, Ruddy is feeling horny as he hasn't had sex for over 10 days. Roxy and Sylphie aren't available as they are on their period, and they have a rule that pregnant women can't have sex, and Ares isn't available either. Linnea invites him to have sex with her. Ruddy considers it, but rejects Linnea. She tried this since she wanted to become Ruddy's 4th wife, which would also erase her debt. Ruddy is concerned that if he has sex with Linnea, it would only worsen the current family dynamics. On top of that, he wanted to just be friends with Linnea. Ruddy reflects on how several household members are unhappy since Linnea arrived. He considers that the reason Ares went to teach at the school was to escape the unpleasant atmosphere at home, so Ruddy decides to find a non-maid job for Linnea. He considers various possibilities such as having her help Zenova or Cliff's research, making her the merchant for selling the Super Tribes book and doll sets, or making her Norn's maid, or an adventurer. He dismisses all those ideas as none seemed like a good fit, nor would they allow her to generate enough money to repay her debt. During lunch, Ruddy discusses this with Cliff. Cliff suggests having Linnea help with work at Orsted's office. After thinking about it, Ruddy comes up with a new job for Linnea, which is to recruit people to support his and Orsted's missions. He buys another building to make the new office, where Linnea would work. He gets Isha to supervise Linnea, who reluctantly agrees. Ruddy is then sent on a different mission by Orsted, and he completes his mission in 1 month. When he returns home, he finds out from Sylphie and Lilia that Isha has been spending a lot of time with strange shady-looking people wearing black cloaks. Sylphie directs him to the building where Isha is, and Ruddy goes to investigate. He goes inside the building and sees lots of people wearing black coats. There, Ruddy is brought to meet Isha and Linnea, and he discovers that they are the leaders of this organization. Isha tells Ruddy that in the month that he had been gone, Linnea was able to quickly recruit over 30 people to their organization. With so many members, Isha sold the old building, bought by Ruddy, and rented the current building. From Nenahoshi's recommendation, Isha had all the members wear a single uniform, which ended up being the black coat with a yellow rat symbol sword in to signify grey rat to build solidarity among the group. Next, Isha considered what they could do with all these new recruits, as most members had no talents except for combat, so they decided to form a mercenary company. This new business, under Isha's careful direction, had many job requests for bodyguard work and generated lots of income. Ruddy is extremely impressed with all that Isha has accomplished within a short time span. He notes that with this, it could be possible for Linnea to repay her debt. Isha reveals that a major part of her motivation for managing Linnea's new business was to make sure Linnea didn't fail and end up back at their home. The name of this company is Ruquag's Mercenary Company, with Ruquag being Rudeus' pseudonym. It has 50 current employees and is a branch company of Orsted Corp. As Ruddy heads back, Linnea tells Ruddy that she received a letter from the Great Forest. The letter says that the holy beast has disappeared, and so Ruddy decides to go to the Great Forest to apologize for being the one responsible for the holy beast's disappearance. So Ruddy goes to the Doldia village to explain the situation of the sacred beast, and he's accompanied by Linnea and sacred beast Leo. They use Rudeus teleportation circles to get to the Great Forest. On arrival, they discover that it's rainy season, and the forest is submerged in over 5 m of water. Ruddy makes a boat, and they make it to the Doldia village after a few days. Once they arrive, the villagers are surprised to see their sacred beast. They also recognize Linnea, who is Gaius' daughter. They shame Linnea for abandoning her duty to the village to become a merchant. Ruddy goes to meet Gaius, who is now the village chief. Ruddy notes that Gaius is much calmer now, compared to when they last met 10 years ago. Gaius is accompanied by Minotona and Teresina, who are hot-headed and remind Ruddy of Gaius' old self. Ruddy explains the situation, about how he is fighting a powerful enemy, and summoned a being to protect his family, and sacred beast Leo ended up being summoned. Leo himself is able to communicate with the beast race, and so explains that Ruddy's daughter Lara is special. It is revealed that Leo's purpose in life is to assist the person who will save the world. Leo believes that this person is Lara. Gaius expresses his surprise since he wasn't expecting this special person to appear for another 80 years. A possible explanation offered is that since Lara is half human and half elven, she will have a long lifespan, and so may need protection 80 years into the future. Gaius ultimately accepts sacred beast Leo's decision to live with Ruddy and guard his family. He asks Ruddy to bring Lara to the Doldia village for a ritual when she turns 15 years old. The conversation then shifts to the reason for Linnea living with Ruddy. Linnea initially tries to lie, but Rudeus tells the truth about how she was scammed as a merchant, fell into debt, sold into slavery, and was ultimately bought by Ruddy. Gaius then discusses who will go back with Ruddy to help guard sacred beast Leo. Although Leo is unlikely to require protection, it is the Darudia tribe's duty to do so. Before any decision is made, Ruddy asks about where Praisna is. So he is brought to the prison, where Praisna is currently being held. So Praisna was actually performing a guard duty, but she gave in to her hunger, and she ate the meat that she was supposed to protect, and as a result, she was put into prison. Later Ruddy talks with her and Gaius, and they decide that Praisna will become sacred beast caretaker for 10 years instead of staying in prison. So when Ruddy, Linnea, and sacred beast Leo leaves the village, Praisna also comes with them. After returning from the Darudia village, Ruddy wakes up early to do his normal training. He notes his family is sleeping peacefully. He sees that Praisna slept in Aris' bed last night, where she was Aris' hug pillow, and so she complains of pain in her breasts and ribs. At breakfast, Norn discusses with the family what she wants to do when she graduates. She considers becoming an adventurer. Her family members don't forbid her from pursuing this, but express their concern. Then Ruddy goes to see Orsted and reports on his past month's activities.